Have you ever finally taken a moment for yourself? Sat down, opened a book, turned off your phone, and then out of nowhere, this heavy, nagging guilt crept in? No one scolded you, no one interrupted you, but somehow your own mind did. And the strangest part? You didn't even do anything wrong. Today, we're uncovering why relaxing feels illegal, why rest feels selfish, and why so many of us feel guilty for simply existing without producing. You wake up tired. You promise yourself that tonight you'll finally rest. But when the moment comes, your brain starts whispering, you should be doing something productive. You're falling behind. Other people work harder than you. You don't deserve a break yet. And suddenly, rest stops feeling like rest. It feels like stealing time from an invisible authority. This isn't just in your head. A recent Pew Research study found that nearly half of American workers with paid time off take less than they're offered. They worry about falling behind or about looking less dedicated than their peers. This guilt isn't random. It's learned. It's trained. And it starts far earlier than most of us realize. Think back. Most of us were praised not for who we were, but for what we produced. Good grades, good behavior, good results. Somewhere along the way, we absorbed a dangerous idea. Your worth must be earned. So when you stop earning, when you just stop, your nervous system panics. Because deep down, a younger version of you still believes, if I'm not useful, I'm not safe. That belief doesn't just disappear with age. It puts on a suit and a tie and calls itself responsibility. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever felt more relaxed helping someone else with their problems than helping yourself with your own need for rest? That isn't kindness. That's conditioning. We live in a culture that worships productivity. We celebrate exhaustion. We glorify burnout. We praise people who run on empty. Sleep when you're dead, hustle harder, grind now, rest later. But your brain doesn't hear motivation in those phrases. It hears a threat.
It hears the sound of a tribe that will leave you behind if you can't keep up. So when you slow down, your body reacts as if you're breaking a fundamental survival rule. Rest begins to feel dangerous, and that guilt you feel rushes in, not because you're lazy, but because your nervous system was trained from childhood to associate rest with risk. The risk of being worthless, the risk of being unsafe. But here's the part almost no one talks about. Some people don't just feel guilty when they rest. Some people feel fear. A deep primal fear that surfaces in the quiet moments. It's the feeling that if you truly let go, if you truly stop, something terrible will happen. That you'll lose control. That you'll be vulnerable, that the entire world you've built through sheer effort will collapse. And that changes everything. Because if the guilt is the cage that keeps us working, then for some of us, fear is the lock. And understanding that fear is the first step to finally finding the key.
For so many of us, that feeling of guilt that creeps in during a quiet moment, it isn't about discipline. It has nothing to do with being lazy or unproductive. It's about survival history. It's a story written deep in your bones. Let's go back. If rest for you once made you a target for criticism or anger, if slowing down once led directly to punishment, to being told you weren't enough, if being openly joyful just for a moment once brought a sharp remark that cut you down, then your nervous system and its incredible wisdom learned a lesson to keep you safe. It learned that being okay is unsafe. Your body learned that peace was the calm before a storm, that ease was a vulnerability. So now, years later, when life finally becomes quiet, when the chaos subsides and you have a moment to breathe, your body doesn't trust it. It sounds an alarm, a familiar internal siren that screams something is wrong. And guilt becomes the guard dog barking at the door of your peace. It's not there because you're weak. It's there because you adapted. You learned to survive a world that was never quiet, that was never truly safe for you to just be. And somewhere along the way, maybe without even realizing it, many of us signed an invisible contract,
an unspoken agreement with the world, with our families, with our roles. The terms were simple. I will be useful. I will be needed. I will be available. And in return, I will be allowed to exist. We learned that our right to take up space was earned through constant motion, through service, through being indispensable to others. So when you finally stop and try to rest, that contract is breached, and your very identity begins to tremble. Because if you're not needed that moment, if you're not producing or helping or fixing, then who are you? That question is terrifying. It terrifies the version of you that built a life on being everything for everyone else, because that was the only way you knew how to survive. But here is the fundamental truth that most of us were never taught, a truth you need to hear and hear again. You do not need to justify your existence with exhaustion. Your worth is not measured by how much you can carry before you collapse. This is why self-care can feel so profoundly selfish.
It's not just an uncomfortable feeling. It's a deep, systemic rebellion. Self-care feels selfish when your entire sense of self was built on a foundation of self-neglect. Peace feels wrong when your normal was chaos. Your body doesn't know what to do with it. Stillness feels profoundly unsafe when you learned that you had to stay alert, constantly scanning the horizon just to survive. So, when you finally, bravely choose yourself, your brain doesn't throw a party. It doesn't celebrate. It protests. It sends up flares of guilt and anxiety. Not because self-care is wrong, but because it threatens the old familiar system. The very system that, for all its pain, successfully kept you alive. So, listen closely. That guilt you feel when you rest, that nagging voice that calls you irresponsible, it is not proof that you are failing. It is proof that you were once over-responsible. It is proof that you learned to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. It is proof that you learned how to disappear so that others could be comfortable. And now the work is for your nervous system to relearn how to let you stay, how to let you inhabit your own life, your own body, your own quiet moments. So if today or tomorrow you take a moment for yourself and you feel that familiar guilt follow you into the room, don't shame it. Don't push it away in anger. Look at it and acknowledge it. That guilt was once a protector. It once kept you safe in an environment where your peace was a liability. Thank it for its service. But it does not get to run your life anymore. Its job is done. You are allowed to rest before you're exhausted. You are allowed to choose yourself without apology. You are allowed to exist without earning it first. And the moment you truly begin to see rest, not as a reward you have to earn, but as a right you inherently have, that is the moment you finally stop living like your worth is conditional.
All right, a quick reminder before you go. If you felt guilty resting while watching this video, congratulations, you proved the point. Listen, rest is not a crime. You don't need to earn a nap, justify your peace, or submit a productivity report to the universe. You're allowed to sit still without feeling like you're doing something illegal. So today, do one thing just for you. No apology, no explanation. And if guilt shows up, tell it. Thanks for trying, but I've got this now. Hit like, subscribe if this helped, and go take a break like the emotionally evolved legend you are. Thanks for watching.